In this video, I'm going to talk about some advanced techniques or just better techniques that you can use for pairing up your first two and sometimes first three tips on the Pyramorphix advanced method. If you have not yet seen that video on the Pyramorphix advanced method, you will want to do that first, so please check that out. This is a quick reminder that anytime I do a scramble, I am starting in this position. This is R, this is F, this is U. This is my 2x2 face here. I want red up on the top like this, and green on the bottom. The diagonal should be like this, and you will scramble it in this position. I'm not sure if you saw what I did there, but here's that scramble. And here's what it looks like. Now, I want to go over how you can do your first two and even first three tips in the fastest way possible. The obvious thing that I saw is this tip and this tip that pair up like this. This pair is often easy to see because of this center right here that gives it more of a feel of putting it in right. A lot of other tips don't feel right if there's not a center there, and it makes it harder to see them. I'm going to go over some better ways that you could do tips if you don't have a good case. The first way I'm going to go over for making these first two tips is if you don't have a good case and you need to do a two mover, here are some ways you can do that. I'm going to focus on this tip and this tip for a second. They are technically right next to each other in the right spots, but they aren't oriented the right way. One way you could do it is like that, where you bring this one back and connect it, keeping this one's orientation. One other way that makes it simpler to do things is just to twist to this corner. How you can do that, to twist a corner clockwise, you're going to bring it out and back in like this. You'll see me do that a lot. You can also do that inverse, like that, twist it counterclockwise. And that's often a good way to do it. Here that's especially good because you can see back here, that will make a full 3 tips, which is good because then you can go right into the rest of the solve. Another less commonly seen way of making these is through double moves. Now these two can actually be paired up through double move like that. Now this might not be the best thing to do for the scramble, but in some cases it will be. Now the best way to see it is if you're holding it like this, the color on this side will end up on bottom, because sometimes it can be hard to visualize that in a solve. And then another insert similar to the one I did here with this is over here. These two reds can be paired up in one move like that. They don't have a center in between them, which makes it harder to see, but it could still be a good case. I'm going to move on from this scramble now and switch to a different one, so you can finish up the solve real quick. Here's another scramble that I'm going to give some examples on how you can do these first two tips. The first thing I saw on this scramble was this one move here that would pair those up. Now, I would be able to see, if you can plan out in the solve, that that wouldn't affect either of these two pieces, which are the blue and yellow tips, which would be the two that we would need. Neither of those are in a very good position. This yellow would be okay, but not the best. Let's see if we can find something better. Another one mover we could do is this one move to pair up green and yellow. This one is actually even worse because it's pretty easy to see that will leave both of these corners right here, which are both in awful positions for finishing up your first 3. So we're not going to do that either. So we found a solution for yellow blue, yellow green. Now I'm going to go to yellow red. That would be these two tips right here. On this one, I would do something similar to what we did last time, where this one needs to rotate counterclockwise. So you should send up and then over like this to pair it up. This one can be harder to predict, but you can see it gives us a really good case here. So if you would be able to predict that, this might be what you want to do. Because after doing that, you can put this tip in and you have a 3 move first 3 to a nice case. And you wouldn't be able to predict this far, of course, but you got a nice 4 swap too. now going to get into some of the hardest stuff to see, but it could also develop some patterns that you could use in solves. If you see these two right here, we're going to focus, these two blue tips, we're going to focus on blue-red. They may seem difficult to pair up. There actually is a nice 2 move you can do. If it's like this position, where you have one up here and one immediately next to it, which is not where you want it, with these edges trying to pair up, you can move this twice over here and then up like this. If you were able to plan this out, this is definitely what you would want to do, because it gives you your third pair in and not a bad case after that. I'm going to show you how I would trace that to figure out that would be such a good thing to do. You want to follow your other 2 pieces that would matter. So if you were doing blue and red tips here for that one, then the other ones that would matter would be this other blue tip and this other red tip in the back. I would know that in inspection, by doing a double move over here, this piece would come here. Tracing that out better, I would try and see that yellow would be right here on that red edge in the back, and this blue edge would be unaffected. Then when you insert it, those would both be pushed up, so blue would be here, and that yellow would be here of the red tip. Now, if you notice, we've just made our blue here, so the other blue would be right here. This is a lot to do in not very much time for inspection, but you could get better at it as time progresses. So again, like this, as right, yellow's be here, and then as you move it down, like we predicted, blue falls into this place, and you have a great setup. You also knew that because that yellow was up here, that you wouldn't have a boat case, which would not be ideal. That's all I'm really going to talk about, but some important things that you could take away are to twist 2 corners next to each other. You can move them like this to twist them clockwise, and like that to do counterclockwise. Again, clockwise and counterclockwise. Then to match up 2 corners that were up here, well, right next to each other like this, you can do that to get them next to each other, assuming they're in the right orientations, which you could figure out. And then check for double moves, because they often aren't seen immediately, but they can lead to some good cases. That's it. Thanks.